The future doesn't exist. The past doesn't exist. There's only this eternal moment. That's the truth. Here now. What's wrong in this moment? Nothing. Nothing. Okay, let's begin. Questions?
What will you recommend to take advantage of this retreat?
You know, the first and most important thing is you have to let go of your expectations. Because we always have this idea in our heads of what we want to achieve, how it should look. That need to control everything. But the truth is, you're creating everything in every moment. And it's unfolding perfectly. And everything that comes to you is a gift. It's a gift for your growth, whether you like the package or not. And you just have to embrace it, connect with what's happening, and move. That's the only thing you have to do. Unify with your eyes closed as much as possible. You know, you don't have to understand the facets. You don't have to control them, and you definitely don't have to believe in them. The only thing you have to do is do them. And if you do them, they'll do the work by themselves. Because they vibrate in such a high frequency, and everything moves towards the highest frequency. And whatever they provoke is what you have to move. And everything that you need to release will come to the surface. You know, often people come here with the prerequisites of how their growth should look. I want to heal this and I want to heal that. No, I've already healed that. And it's not true. You know, you don't know what you've healed. You don't know what you need to heal. You can't remember 80% of the things that have happened. And usually the ones that are most confronting, you can't remember at all. So that capacity to just surrender, listen to the teachers, and you need to remember something about the teachers. They didn't read a book. They did the whole process. And it's completely experiential. It's not intellectual. This is a very feminine system. It's an emotional system, and it's based in unconditional love, not control or knowledge. It's based in the unfolding of your true essence. And that's what you're here for, to find yourself. But your real selves, not the little caricatures you created or the ideas of how you are. It's just about coming back to your authenticity. Yeah. So it's simple. It's a simple system. That's the problem. It's so simple. Everyone wants to complicate it. Yes, because humans are very complicated. You have to just be innocent. Yeah? It'll be great. Don't worry. When you leave, you will be surprised. But the most important thing is unifying with your eyes closed. And don't worry if you fall asleep. It's okay. It keeps working. Keeps working.
It comes memories from the fear from many, many years ago, fear to unknown. And I would like to know how to move through.
Okay, there's one thing you need to know. You will never create more than you can handle. Because you are creating everything. You're not conscious of that. But you are creating everything. So that this can all unfold. So sometimes you'll have a moment that you think, oh, I can't do this anymore. And you can. Because you create exactly what you can handle. And you have to trust in that. Trust in yourself. You know, you might call it your higher self. But, you know, just keep letting go. And when that fear comes, just go and express it. But, you know, nothing's going to be too overwhelming. Don't worry.
Can you talk to me a little bit more of no judgments with self?
You know, once you completely embrace your humanity, you can let go of the judgment. You know, I always say in order to be divine, you have to be 100% human. And humans are humans. You know, we've got these religious beliefs that we're meant to be a certain way. Like we're meant to be saints. But it's not true. We're human. And we have fear. And we have emotions. And we have insecurities. And we have judgments through societies, through our religions, through every aspect. And we have to embrace everything and see the perfection of it through expressing. And when the judgment disappears and we love ourselves unconditionally, we can love everyone unconditionally. Because we see ourselves. Because the reality is there's nothing but you. And there's aspects that are very low vibrations. You know, violence, greed, jealousy, all of those behaviors. But we all have them. And once we embrace them and stop judging them, they start to disappear. But then we see it externally and it doesn't affect us. We just see ourselves. I am that, I am that, I am that. But it starts with self. And every judgment you have with yourself, you have to remember the third facet. Because that's truth. Love creates me in my perfection. It's that simple. Love does create me in my perfection. You know, when I got enlightened, one of the first things that hit me stronger than anything, because everything happened at once, no, is that I'd never done anything wrong. And I was so violent with myself. I always thought I had to be, I don't know, like Jesus. You know, nothing was ever good enough. And I realized I'd never done anything wrong. Because love creates you in your perfection. Yeah? And it will become your experience. And if you don't like an aspect of yourself, you change it. It's that simple. Like you change clothes. Oh yeah, that doesn't really serve. That's not my highest ideal of myself. Oh, I think I'll change that. Oh, I was a bad mother. Oh, I'm going to be a good one now. Nothing's, you can change whatever you feel. But it's none of it's true because you never did anything wrong.
I wanted to know what led you on your journey and how you reached the facets.
Everything I did in my life, I did well. I was always successful, always achieved what I wanted, but nothing was ever enough. Everyone else was enough. I wasn't enough. I couldn't see it, I couldn't appreciate it, and I realized that everything I was trying to achieve externally was to make me feel that I had value, because I did not love myself at all. Nothing was good enough. I couldn't see the qualities I had, the achievements I made. Nothing was ever good enough. And I had a deep fear of abandonment. I could jump out of a plane, ride a crazy horse, dive to the bottom of the ocean, but I was terrified of being abandoned. And everything I did in my life, I was compromising so that people wouldn't leave me. I'd play smaller. And that fear, I got to a point I couldn't live with it anymore. And I had a voice inside my head, or my heart, or wherever it was, telling me it was time to wake up. And I didn't know what that meant. You know, when I was young, no one was spiritual. No one did anything. We used to get drunk. Very Australian, no? You know, but I started listening to this voice. And I just, you know, followed every opportunity that presented itself. And when I woke up, I became the facets. Yeah, I always had a strong spiritual connection, and I had expansions throughout my life. Like when I was a child, when I was a little bit older, when I was 30, 35, I'd have these expansions. So I knew there was something else, but I didn't know what it was. Absolutely innocent and stupid. And I thought everyone knew more than me. And that was my greatest gift, because I listened to everyone and I surrendered to everything. So I moved fast. And then the facets are the experience I have.
Expectations make me suffer lots. I want to get rid of them. How can I work with that?
You know, it's about innocence. Expectations are completely limited because you're limited to your ideas, and you can only recreate what you know. But when you start to surrender and you allow, that's when the magic starts. But why don't you want to do that? Because of fear. And you have to see that fear. You know, when you keep letting go, keep surrendering, that's when you allow magic. When you've got control, you're not open to receive. If you're like this, because the universe wants to bring you everything. But if you're holding on to your ideas and your expectations, you can't open to receive. So why do humans do that? Because of fear. It's simple. We want what we want. We want it how we want it. And we have to learn to let go.
How to learn to trust again, and how to learn to deserve after relationships that really harm me.
Okay, you're here now. And what you have to do is open. You have to let all that rubbish go, all that resentment, all those places you're not trusting. And with the facets, you're going to find a place of incredible internal security. And from that space, you'll start to feel unlimited. The thing with consciousness, it's here. And once you have that stabilized, every time you move through a fear, it expands and expands and expands. And the fear starts to dissolve. And it's not here. Oh, how am I going to trust? By trusting. How am I going to open? By opening. You know, it's your choice. And you have the tools now. And every time you confront something, the love grows and grows and grows. And it becomes like a force. And you don't abandon yourself anymore. You know, you've been abandoning yourself. Why? Because you didn't value yourself. You're here now. Time to start valuing yourself. It's never too late. It's a perfect time. This time's perfect. Yeah?
I live with my mom, 88, and she needs help. And sometimes I lose unconditional. What do I do so I can continue taking care of my mom?
You know, mothers are very complicated because they reflect you. Everything you don't like about her is you. So you have to use her to heal everything. And now with the system, you can start to move your stress. But stop putting expectations on yourself about, oh, I need to be unconditional. You have to be unconditional with you. And then it's easy with her. You know, I had a very complicated mother. And my secret was to surrender. I just kept surrendering to her. Whether I agreed, disagreed, not important. I just kept surrendering and surrendering and surrendering. And she changed completely. Completely. Did she change? No, I changed. Because I was always like this. Looking for approval, needing to be right, needing to show her I had value, competing with my brother. But it was all in my head. She always loved me. She always thought I was fabulous. But I couldn't see it. Why? Because I didn't love myself. So it's a great gift to live with your mother. Because once you heal that, you are so free. So free. Yes, because your mother's always your biggest mirror.
The world change. Artificial intelligence, robotics. It's letting thousands of people with no job. We, as a head of enterprises, how can we take advantage of the situation for us?
You know, it is what it is. And you have to adapt and trust Because what you're talking about is presenting fear, lack, and you have to start trusting in the future and in yourself. I don't have an answer because there's nothing wrong. Remember when we didn't have mobile phones? Remember when the television was black and white? You know, everything changes. Everything changes all the time. But there's always this fear. And it's just another idea. I'm sure it's going to resolve a lot of problems. Or maybe not. But it will be perfect. So it's about just moving with what's happening. Yeah?
And now, what is happening with my dad is he started to lean on me, like more emotionally. And I noticed that I get annoyed when he asks me sometimes. So how to also, be more loving in that process?
The thing is, you just have to keep surrendering. Because there's a place where you expect him to protect you. You're daddy's little girl. And it's not like that anymore. So you need to give to him unconditionally and not get annoyed. Like you do with your mum. You love her unconditionally. You know, and she's controlling and she's all of those things. I've watched her. But you're getting fine with her. And you have to let go of the old idea of how your father is. Because he's not that person. And just love him. And feel the sadness. Because this makes you feel sad. Because you don't feel safe. And it's not intellectual. It's the emotion of a little girl. You know, daddy's not here to protect me.